Everybody, welcome to the Gullah Geechee Land and Cultural Preservation Task Force meeting. This is December 4th, 2023. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And don't see it here on my outline. Karen, are we in compliance with the FOIA? Thank you. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us for the task force meeting. This is the last meeting for this year, and I'm excited about some of the things that have been going on in the past couple of years, really. You know, we've had some really good momentum, and of course, it doesn't come without challenges. But I certainly want to acknowledge the presence of our council members who are here. I see David Ames and Mr. Alex Brown in the house from our council. Thank you for being here. And I'd also like to acknowledge and welcome Mr. Thomas Boxley, the Director for our Community Development Corporation. Welcome. And he's still brand new to the island, so still finding his way around. If you haven't met him yet, please take some time to let him know he's welcome here, and encourage him and certainly support the work that he's doing. Let me go ahead and ask for an adoption of the agenda. The agenda has been set before us. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda such as it is? Thank you, Mr. Hens. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Simmons is second. All those in favor? Unanimous. We also have some minutes from our November 6th meeting. I'm sorry, yeah, I see it on my outline. Thank you, sir. Karen, would you please go ahead and call the roll for us?
Present.
Present.
Present. Present.
Here. Here.
Here.
Very good. Looks like we got a full house today, so thank you all for being here as well. And the minutes from our November 6th meeting, you have a chance to look at those. If there's no corrections and revisions, I have a motion to approve those minutes.
So
Mr. Simmons has moved. Mr. Campbell has second. All those in favor? No? I'm so okay. That's right.
On the present, my name is omitted.
And the minutes, your name was omitted? Yes. Thank you. We'll get that corrected. So, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? With this correction and adding this rights name to the minutes. Thank you. That carries unanimously. Do we have any appearance of citizens? No, sir. Okay. All right, thank you. Before we get into the staff reports, I did want to say that, again, some of the work that we've been doing here with the task force, this is the last meeting of this year. We're looking forward to the new year. And we do have some recommendations that we've been working on for the last several years. Of course, there's some priorities. And some of those have come up, and we've been kind of putting them in the forefront. In the new year, I want to ask my colleagues here on the task force to think about some things that we can do that would help move some of the priorities along. There's increasing effort, certainly from our part, but certainly engaging the community and things that we can do to encourage the staff. And I'm hoping that we can come back in the new year. We kind of have a fresh new look at it. If there's any new or creative ideas we have about some of the recommendations of the work that we're doing here in the task force, we'd like to do that in the first part of the year. Understanding that the work that we've done here with the task force. We are a subcommittee of the Planning Commission, and we send recommendations up to the Planning Commission, who can also then present to Town Council. And so we have a way, or we have an avenue to get to our council and to get to the policymakers. The task force itself doesn't have any policy-making authority, but we are excited about having the Community Development Corporation on board now. And just for clarification, the Community Development Corporation, the Gullah Geechee Community Development Corporation, is actually not carrying on the work that the task force is doing. And there's certainly, we're working in concert with the Community Development Corporation. So I don't want people to be confused that we're duplicating efforts or somehow or another we're in competition with the CDC. We are, in fact, here fully supporting the Community Development Corporation. We'll find that some of the initiatives that they have with that development corporation does overlap with our mission and our vision. So we are in concert with the Community Development Corporation, and that is, I want us to take a little bit of pride about having this Community Development Corporation established, and certainly have to give credit to the leadership of the town, and of course the hard work of the staff, and again for bringing Mr. Bobson on board. So we will be, again, in support of him and working hand in hand with the work that we're doing. And we will certainly see that a lot of what we're talking about here in the task force is things that we have now resourced through the Community Development Corporation to get some of those things accomplished. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, we have some staff reports, and we have general staff updates.
Good afternoon, Task Force Chair. Alexis Cook, Principal Planner for the record. I have just a few general staff updates here, then we'll jump into the design studio update. And I don't want to overlap our director, Missy Lewick, if she wants to bring anything else up, but we have 2 new hires in our planning group, which is very exciting. They are here with us today, but I will not embarrass them or call them out. We can just wave to them and say, welcome. Excited for you to join our team. We have a new manager, a new CDC coordinator, and a new principal planner. Those are 3 big positions that will really help bolster our team. And then later this week, on the current planning side, we do have a phone interview with another potential senior planner. So we're starting to fill some of these positions, which will be really helpful in our production on the planning side. So looking forward to that. I do not have an update on LMO Phase 5, but I can take any questions to the department if anyone has any regarding that update.
In reference to the LMO?
Yes.
So we are still anticipating some consultant advisory work.
Yes, to my understanding, the last update is we have begun interviews with consultants, and I will let Missy give you a better update on that.
Thanks. Hi, Missy Lewick. We did interview 2 consultants for the LMO overhaul project last week, and we're making a recommendation to hire one of them. We anticipate the code overhaul from beginning to end to be a very lengthy process. And of course, all of the recommendations that we're working on as well later in this agenda too, to work on amendments to family compound and subdivision would be included in that process. So yes, we hope to have a code writer under contract yet this month and hope to launch that project in January.
Thank you. We have been engaging with some members of the community too to get some input on family compound and family subdivision as it relates to that item. So thank you.
Thank you. And with that, that will conclude our general staff updates.
Okay, any questions about general staff updates? Okay.
it okay if I continue with
You may continue.
Thank you. Okay, our next report and update will be on the Historic Neighborhood Permitting and Design Studio. I believe in the packet, you'll see the report that has the number of cases. I'm gonna leave our agenda up here, but in total, from our last meeting in November, you'll see that it's still 66 cases. I did a deep dive this past month and I went into every single file and folder and design and made sure that there weren't any duplicates, made sure that we didn't lose anybody. I followed up with a few people that were still outstanding, and I'm going to continue to do that because we have a few that are considered on hold, and I want to make sure that applicants are, they understand that we still have their data and their information and that we want to follow up with them and that they're not lost into the ether of Design Studio. So I found 2 duplicates. I just wanted to be very transparent with the task force that there were 2 duplicates from 2022. And what happened is that the folders from 2022 were just carried over into our 2023 recording. So they were double counted into our reporting numbers. So next month, we won't have any discrepancies like that because I've gone through every folder and I feel very confident in the numbers now. And then we also received 2 new applications this month, which was very exciting. So with that, I'm always open to suggestions. I think in the new year, I would love to create some sort of community communication to not revitalize the design studio, but to bring it to the attention of the community again, to remind that we have this very nice service for anyone who has any questions, big or small. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a plat that we're changing or altering for a family. It could just be to answer any questions or connect them to any community resources. So I look forward to learning more about the CDC and connecting with that group as well. And with that, that concludes my Historic Neighborhood Permitting and Design Studio report.
Mr. Malik.
May I ask, when a person goes through the process with the design studio, are you able to tell when and if they've completed their project? Do you have any follow-up with the potential person to know if they've actually completed the process?
Yes, so we have a design log and each applicant has a few different steps. So they have basically a tracking column in our log of their status and their most recent communication, if they've met with us, what the details included. And then each month I check in on the status. So either they're on hold, in progress, completed, or withdrawn. I think those are the 4 statuses. So in that log, I can nicely see if they're completed, then you can look back at the months and see which applications have been completed.
So are you able to tell us of any cases that have been through that process and completely, completed their project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so typically we'll communicate with the applicant and we'll say, thank you so much for attending Design Studio. You have 2 standard typical meetings. You typically have a fact-finding meeting in the beginning to meet with the applicant, ask questions, what they're looking to do with their property or what questions they have or how we can help. Then after the fact-finding meeting, typically there's a design meeting where we get together with the other plan reviewers. They take a look at the property. If they have any concerns about what the family's looking to do, they provide comments to the family. And then we meet with the family sometimes 2, 3, or 4 times to make changes and alterations. And then we'll say, thank you, this concludes your design studio once it's at a place that they're happy with the design. And then we'll give them next steps, whether it's a small residential application, a family compound application, just a regular minor DPR. We give them kind of those next steps on where they take their application. Or they just stay with their plat too, which sometimes people just want to get to a point where they might not be ready to develop or change anything, but they want something on paper of their roadmap. So sometimes that's the end too.
Yeah, Ms. Wright has a question.
Yes.
My question is, I know that we talked about possible doing like case studies with, at the design level,
Yeah.
studio reports. Have we considered that when someone has completed their project or at the design report, at the design studio, have you considered possible having the family mentor or be there for another family so they can feel more comfortable with their peers, opposed to having now as we trying to bridge that communication between the community and the town? So if someone has completed their whole cycle, is it possible that they too can help with another family in communicating what to, what not to, and?
I think that's a wonderful idea. We could have a mentorship style program, and by our next meeting, I can look into what that might look like and have an update for you. I think that's a wonderful idea. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, Mr. Simmons.
The question is, how many, or did you have any mobile home placements? I'm aware of one family who had some issues trying to get a mobile home or wanted to get a mobile home or have a mobile home placed recently. And it seemed that they had quite a bit of issues trying to get it done. Did you in fact have a mobile home request?
We've had quite a few under this design studio, I would say. And the mobile home placement process is one that I know our design services manager is working very diligently to streamline and improve, because I think a lot of people experience some heartburn with the process, and rightfully so. So I would be happy to take the contact of that person and follow up and kind of see if they're in or on hold status, or if you want to chat at the end of this meeting. But yes, we do have quite a few mobile homes, and they're not the easiest process. I would say that is unfortunately a trend.
Yeah, I seem to recall there was things I think the task was put in place to streamline some of that process. So I'm not sure I'm not recalling what some of those items were, but it seemed as though there's still quite a bit of, I might say, red tape in order to do a mobile home, where we had pushed to streamline those requirements. And the last I heard, it was still quite a bit. I think there was some information relative to impact fees, and
Yep.
these are the kinds of things they're still running into, to make it very complicated to get a mobile home done.
I think all these questions are great, and if it's okay with you, I'd propose also in our January meeting, bringing an update on this,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
That'd be fine. I mean, it's just, we'd like to keep up, because it's still the primary source for a lot of the families to have decent housing. Mobile homes
Yeah.
at one point, seemed to not been an attractive thing for the town, but our community still have a need for mobile homes. And that process shouldn't be so very difficult.
Yes, I would agree. So that'll give me the opportunity to review previous meeting minutes. I think you said this has been brought up at the task force before, or a conversation we've had before. I can pull those up in the recordings and summarize where we are and where we're going. I know we're trying to remove a few steps, and so I can get a summary on what we're doing and where that is.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Mr. Kevin, you have a question?
Yeah, out of the 66 cases,
Yes.
how are you staying, how do I put this? How are you staying updated with them?
So typically I either call or email the family members to update them on their process. And I have a 30-day window to I don't want to follow up too often, but I don't want to also have anyone, kind of fall out of the loop. So typically every 30 days, if somebody is on hold or inactive, that's my workflow right now, just to see how they're doing and touch base.
And is the people that you haven't get in touch with, or?
That is a good question. I have one that I can think of right now. I won't
Okay.
name, but I won't stop following up with them unless they reach out to me and say, please do not contact me anymore. That's a good question. Yeah.
Okay, other questions? Thinking you probably still turning that volume down on the microphones, got a little feedback. Um, as far as, there was a couple things that was mentioned, I think, with the process of taking the mobile homes. I do recall some of those conversations that we had, and it was, you'll do some homework on that and see, but, one thing that we were trying to do with the design studio is to have it be like a one-stop shop over here. I don't know if that's possible because some of the procedures I think that we were talking about do involve the county and some other outside entities that may be beyond our control. But we do want to give people the comfort that when they do come to the design studio, that we can help them get to where they need to be without too much of running here and there in different places.
Yes, and I think your mic might be off.
I think we got it figured out now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so I would agree with you. I think we're trying to add more streamlined workflows into Design Studio. So when we have a good idea with the family of, okay, you want to add a mobile home to your property, or maybe you want to look into prefabricated homes, or maybe you're just dividing your home. I'd love to have like a nice packet or something the family can take away, which I think in the past, with like Mr. Barnwell, there were things like that, like families could take a packet away, and it would have a lot of kind of Q&A and typical questions with development. And I think that would be a nice place for the Design Studio to go right now.
Yep, and you'll hear me continue to talk about the Community Development Corporation. We're hoping that they will have some resources that'll be able to help people if they're trying to develop their property, or if they're looking for some help with some of the financial impact of trying to be a developer as an individual.
Yeah.
So, again, we're looking forward to that work. There was a workshop on last Thursday, the CDC. I thought it was well attended, and we did get some good input from the community. Had similar questions, and again, we're certainly not in competition with the CDC. We're working hand in hand with them. Hopefully some of those resources will become available.
Yeah.
As you know, I have one that I'm working with personally, kind of walk through that process, and that's some of the advice that I'm giving her is that let's see how the resources from the CDC can help with someone that's trying to develop their property as well.
Yeah, which is a great example.
Other questions on this item? One in the public have a question on this particular item. Okay, you can continue. Okay. The next item we have on our agenda is the Home Safety and Repair Program update.
Good afternoon. Oh, okay. Good afternoon. Nick Barrientos, Planner Economic Development for the record. Since our last update, we've only really received one new application. The team has been working with applicants who need additional information in order to complete their packets. Kind of like Alexis, we like to check in about every 30 days or so. Email and we call as well. So we will keep reaching out unless, again, they tell us that they don't need it anymore, they don't want us to. There are a few applicants who haven't responded to our outreach, so, but again, we will keep trying. FS Passion has been working with homeowners to set up start dates for permitted projects as well. We have not awarded any new projects since our last update, but they are working on the ones that were already awarded. And then as per your request from last time, Chris has been working on, on the map for you that kind of just shows you where the projects are, which as you can see have been mainly in the north end of the island, and then the green ones are the ones who have been fully completed. The incomplete also represent the ones that are in progress. And that concludes my update for the home and safety.
Okay. As far as the money for that project, will it be more funds available, or do they need more money to continue that work?
Will come up in.
For both programs, Home Safety and Sewer Connect, there will be additional funds necessary to continue the programs. Both of them are nearing capacity with the existing funding that we have before us right now. And so in future budget discussions, those conversations will take place. Certainly there is more need in the community that has not yet been met for both of those programs.
So where do we think that money will come from, or is it from the same source that it came from before? Or?
Potentially, but those are budget conversations that will happen elsewhere.
Other questions for Nick Tay or Ms. A on this item?
You said out of the green are the completed projects and the red are the incomplete, or the ones that may be in process?
Yes, so the green ones are the ones that have been fully completed. So we've done the renovation or whatever they needed. Those have been fully completed. The ones that are incomplete also have the ones that are in progress. So the ones that I just mentioned that FS Passion is working with, they're included in the red.
Okay.
They haven't been fully completed yet, but they're in progress of getting their repairs.
I think we need like another color for something that's like
Right, okay. I'll bring that to Chris.
progress.
Yeah, two things. One, again, if you could just tell us when this program started. We know that this is as of November 17th, but if you could just always add the start date
Always
so we,
add- oh, okay.
so we know what we're looking at. Second thing is on the sewer connection program. You asked, Mr. Chairman, about ideas for next year. I would love to see if we could develop a program where we're proactively reaching out with the goal that 100% of our residences would be connected to sewer system by X date, and just be more intentional with making that happen.
Sorry?
I'll bring that back to Chris as well
Yeah.
and see what we can.
I think that we've got a pretty good percentage of the residents that are connected. There's still probably a few out there. As I recall, there's also quite a few who chose not to be connected. I don't know what 100% will look like, 100% of those who want to be connected, I guess.
I'd like to be 100%.
Other questions?
Once again, the outline showing the incomplete projects. Are these, are the applications been completed, or the projects are incomplete? Because I don't know that we have a
The full,
clarification here.
sorry.
At least I'd like to see.
Sorry. The red is incomplete, as in they have not had any repairs done to the home. So those are included, the applications that are in progress of the repairs, the applications that maybe still need additional information to even complete their application, the applications who are who need the site visit completed by the town and by the contractor. So it is everybody who has not been completed, but I can bring back to Chris that we need different colors to show those different, aspects of.
Status of the progress, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I need to just probably read the report for further clarification. So do we have is there something that tells us how much this has actually been awarded?
Yes,
Contracts have been awarded?
in the update. You have. I'm sorry. So you have the 28 homes that are pending final contractor quotes and pending, or that are under that are pending the contractor quotes or are under contract already. So those are the 28 homes. Again, those are in the red dots as incompleted as well because they are still in progress, so I will change that. But yes, everything here that you see in the report is outlined by the applications completed, by what's under contract, what's under permitted jobs already, and then you also have the ones for tree work only. So I can get this into that map with different colors so it's not as confusing when you look at it.
Yeah. Also put in, how much has been rewarded too.
Yes.
On that map.
Okay, good. Other questions? Okay, thank you, Nick Tay. Did that report include the sewer connection, or are you going into that now?
We only have one new application for the sewer connection, as Missy mentioned. We're kind of almost at the cap for funds, so we're just kind of waiting on that at the moment. That's it for folks.
Okay.
Unless you guys have any other questions.
Do you have any more questions on either one of those items? Thank you. I want to ask my colleagues too to consider that we may not be meeting in January. January the 1st is a Monday, which would be the 1st, and so that meeting would be moved to the 8th. I would like to y'all to consider that we cancel that meeting in January. A couple of reasons, kind of give staff some room to breathe and catch up on some of these items and the work that they're doing. I will mention once again the work that the CDC is anticipating some movement and progress with that. And then there's a lot going on in January, so I ask you to consider that unless someone really has a burning desire to meet in January. Okay? All right, our next item is discussion items is family compound and family subdivision improvements.
Hello again. Alexis Cook, Principal Planner for the record. I will be presenting, this is a follow-up presentation from our November meeting on the family compound, family subdivision review and process. Our agenda today will go over, again, our applications to date, the family compound and family subdivision purpose and intent of the two applications that exist. We'll briefly discuss the general comparison to other application types. We'll go over again what we have seen has been working in the few applications that we have received, and then areas for improvement. Okay, so application types. We've got on your left, we've got family compound. In the center, we have a regular subdivision, and then on the right, we have a graphic of a family subdivision. So just to depict a nice graphic of what homes typically look like. In red, you have your setbacks and your buffers. And then you can see in gray, those are your typical entrances, streets, access. And then in very generic terms, a stormwater area for runoff in the back of each property. Okay, So we will get into this in our areas for improvement, but we have quite a few zoning districts that have, that allow and permit for family compound and family subdivision. I think in LMO Phase 5, this will be a big topic of different types of use, commercial, businesses, residential. There's a lot of opportunity here for improvement. So just something we wanted to bring up again were the different types of zoning districts. And then we haven't received any new family compound or subdivision applications to date. I think a lot of that is strongly due to the LMO updates and changes that are coming. But we always recommend either pre-applications or design studio for any families that have questions or interest or anything like that. So no changes there. Okay. So just to reiterate, and we won't belabor this, but the purpose of the family compound application type is to have more of a shared living space. So there's still improvements to setbacks and buffers so that the whole parcel can be used for the family and that it is as buildable as possible with shared amenities. The intent of the application is to really assist the family without triggering the full range of LMO requirements for a typical subdivision. The purpose of a family subdivision, and I like to think of this as really each family member will have their own individual buildable lot. So if you're planning to build at different subsequent times, but the purpose is to build these individual lots while still having the family remain in close proximity, but still taking advantage of those reduced setbacks and buffers while maintaining individuality. These tables are hard to read, but this one is really the comparison of your family compound presentation. So you have different elements in the design and zoning requirements here. And then our current LMO is in this wider column here in the center. Well, I'm sorry, our previous LMO, I should have changed this. This is our current LMO for family compounds and family subdivisions on your right-hand side. You'll see a reduction in setbacks, buffers, minimum planting requirements. We've spoken about this. This is something we know we will improve on and actually have some sort of objective buffer type like you see in the previous LMO rather than just a minimum. Family subdivision is very similar. You'll see a similar reduction in setbacks and buffers. And then the same thing with planting requirements.
So proposed amendments means phase 5.
No, I apologize. The proposed amendments is what was approved in 2021. I apologize. So that's technically the current LMO. Good question, thank you. Okay, so I don't want to focus too much because I think we do need to really understand and study and improve these applications. And I hope more applications come in as we finish and improve the phase 5 changes of the LMO. But our applications are being fast-tracked. We are, I think, building strong relationships with the families. We've delineated the historic neighborhoods, and I think Design Studio has been a strong site design component of these applications. And then where we really want to focus and what we have changed from our previous presentation are a long list of areas for improvement. So we want to bring these to the LMO Phase 5 rewrite, like Missy was saying. So this will be part of what will be kicking off in the new year and what we're trying to get under contract this month. So there's quite a long list here, but I'll briefly go through how this table is set up, and then please let me know if you have any questions. But the first column where it just says December 2023, that's just numbering them in order. The summary is just a description of what we're looking to improve. And then the owner and type is to show okay, who's going to be spearheading this initiative in LMO Phase 5 and in the new year? So we have heard from the community that we want to relook at and potentially remove the 3-year hold on properties for sale. I know that's a big one, so I made that number 1. We need to look at it with the code writer. This one really brings into the whole, okay, if you have reduced setbacks and buffers and you have advantages that were meant for a family, if you sell that property then, and someone else who's not a family member buys that property, we don't want any, I don't want to say like poor development, but we don't want anything to come to be, what's the right word? We don't want the family to be impacted negatively because somebody might get, a grandfathered better setback and better buffer because the building is already there. So there's things that need to be worked out with the sale of property that really need to be improved in LMO Phase 5.
And our code writer will be able to help us with that one.
Yes, because I think that, that will be code update with the code writer. And most of these will be. And I think the owner and type can really have more input and feedback as well. Like if there's organizations or if we should bring the CDC, I think I have them listed. If there's other organizations we should bring into the fold, I would love that. So keep that in mind. Number 2 is clarity on how to review developing property after sale. Okay, we discussed that, I apologize. Assistant with development costs, that's where the CDC, some other organizations, the Ayers Library, potentially having a list or a library of already prefabbed homes that have their building permits. Allowing mixed use and commercial types in developments. I think this does exist in a lot of places on the island, which is a very unique part of Hilton Head. So how can we bring that into our LMO? Number 5 is really clarity on our plat requirements and our design requirements. So when a family comes in for a subdivision or a compound, what are the bare minimums for a good solid construction of a subdivision or neighborhood? What do we need so that everyone is serviced with the same level of service, but we aren't missing anything and we aren't asking so many requirements that it's not cost, the cost isn't beneficial to a family, or it's too costly for someone to continue with the requirements as they're written. So some of the plat requirements that were discussed were adding tree and topo. That's just a basic survey requirement so we can see specimen trees on family properties. That's an important one. And we can specify to save money that if there was a property that had a ton of tree cover, which on the island there are quite a few properties like that, if we just wanted specimen trees, we can specify that with surveyors. A reduction in stormwater requirements. So right now we require that you show your existing stormwater culverts, your flow paths, possibly needing a civil site design, and in some cases, a simple stormwater narrative of an existing condition to a proposed condition is good enough. Utility requirements, we also have in our LMO right now that those need to be shown on the plan. That can be quite pricey with a surveyor to actually shoot where all manhole structures are, where storm, water, sewer, electric, where all these lines are. That can be a quite cost-intensive initiative. So can we just go down to will serve letters? I think that is a good compromise here. That's what we're proposing. We don't have to, but a strong suggestion for a design studio or a pre-application meeting to set applicants off on the right foot. Clarity on access. I think there's been a lot of discussion on when we have something on paper, what does that actually mean when it comes to development? What are we actually held to? So I think sometimes there is confusion on, we don't need to go out and pave a road or put in an all-surface road just yet. We can just have everything on paper, and we need clarity with our staff to make sure we're providing the right comments. I think sometimes our comments, just from some case studies that I've seen, have gone a little bit too far. So I think the code writer will help us with narrowing that and streamlining that. As discussed many times, the planting requirements, amendment process, I think Missy spoke about that last time, just really clarifying what that looks like, what that means in our LMO and how we would implement that. Application updates, when it comes to legal requirements, there's not a lot of guidance on that in our LMO right now, other than saying that you do need your drainage easements or your access easements. So what does that actually look like? And then other future considerations would be floor area ratio, or a calculation that would impact density. And then small home development plans, which I touched on briefly. That would be those kind of like complete package of home plans that are ready to go, that meets island character, that I think it would be great, and I think we should definitely have the task force in on what that looks like and make sure that they're relevant to the island and have that be part of phase 5. So this is just some of the many, and you're welcome to add if you have some more.
Thanks also to the team that met outside to further flesh out this areas for improvement list that's before you. There are more items identified than last month. And this is really the starting point with the code writer to let them know that while we have family compound and family subdivision as application tools on the books, we know that they need improvement. And these are just some of the areas that we've identified with you as the task force and as staff, and that we would then have further engagement with that code writer to further identify and use some of the existing cases to show them where some of these problems or areas of improvement are identified on some plans that we have reviewed, or at least reviewed in Design Studio. And then one of the things that we built into the RFQ for the project overall is code testing. And that's something that we didn't do when we wrote family compound and family subdivision, and it's going to be beneficial across the entire code amendment project. And that we will take potential applications for family compound, family subdivision, or existing applications and code test them against the new code that's being identified. And I think we can bring some of that information as we're working through this large process to overhaul the entire code. And this is just one of those pieces within it. But make sure that we're getting it right and that we're code testing it to make sure that it meets the purpose and intent that was upfront in this presentation, and meets the goals that were identified in the Gullah Geechee Preservation Project report, so that we're meeting the overall purpose of why these were created, and that we're solving it through the code amendment process. So
in that process, this is something that we mentioned earlier that's similar to doing like a case study, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully we can learn from those tests or code testing, as you say, if there are challenges or things that we learn along the way.
Sure, yeah. And so you'd have an actual, either a pending application, or we could take an application that we've already processed, and then like, this is how it applied to the existing family subdivision rules and regulations, and here's like the 2.0 version of what's in draft code, and then see if it's applying correctly, if it's solving these areas we've identified for improvement or not. And then we can recalibrate, we can work with a family that's thinking about doing an application, and go through some of these requirements and streamline further the application processes and requirements that are needed to get to these 2 application types. Because again, the purpose was that it's minimum application requirements. And so we want to make sure that we've met those initial objectives with this overhaul. So, but I can assure you that the code writing firm has done this before and has done unique application type engagement in other communities where they've worked. And so while they don't have experience with this type of application, because it's unique to here, they have done this type of integration within communities to make sure that these neighborhood-specific kind of application types can be applied to meet their purpose and intent. So this isn't the end of this areas for improvement. I think we've gotten it to a point that I feel you can always add more considerations to this list, and we have quite a bit of time now that we'll be working with the code writer. And so if there's anything else that you think of or that we uncover during Design Studio, we will certainly still continue to add to this list as well. But wanted to at least get this before you right now, is that this is what we identified both with the conversation last month, as well as with the small stakeholder group that was met with to further hone in on where we need to improve these two processes.
And we're gonna be able to meet with the code writer before he starts working on this, right?
Well, we have to work out kind of what that whole process is for beginning to end with the engagements that will be underway, but there certainly will be an engagement along the way with this group, and especially with some stakeholders as it relates to family compound and family subdivision. But when, I can't speak to that just yet.
So is part of your question is before it goes to code, we want to make sure we have, I think that we will have that opportunity.
Oh, yes, there will be an engagement. So this is kind of like your fact-finding behind, like, so clarity on where we need to improve these. And then they'll need to get some understanding with what is existing, what are these areas, and then have some further understanding on what's unique about these two application types. And then there likely would be an engagement ahead of drafting code. And then there would be a code testing step.
Yep. And we'll know more, like Missy was saying, if the project is going to be kicking off in the new year, and we might not be meeting in January. If we meet in February, we'll have a good update by then. We'll know, once you have signed a contract, you typically have developed a schedule, a timeline, even if it's high level of here's what we're looking for engagement, all the steps that you mentioned there. So I think by February, we'd have a nice, at least ballpark idea of here's when the code writer would plan to meet with the task force. Here's what it might look like, whether it's a workshop or whatever. But we'll have an update by February for sure. So.
Just on scheduling and sequencing, I mean, just in the whole scheme of the LMO that's this thick, family compound is a small section within that, where family compound subdivision fit within the sequencing of the overall project. We'll have a better understanding, yes, in February for sure.
Exciting. Questions?
It's just comments, but two things that really stood out that I think it would be really interesting to focus on is one, preserving businesses within the historic neighborhoods. I think that's really exciting and something that we ought to look into. And the other thing that I really like is the item on small home development plans. I think that is really interesting if we could develop plans for homes that are attractive, work well in the historic neighborhoods. And then once we get those plans, then if we could take the next step and work together to find contractors and suppliers to be able to put these homes up, get them up, and that might be a interesting thing for the town to work on as well.
Yeah, the small home series, having pre-approved plans, a set of blueprints, it removes some of the barriers to construction. So hiring that architect, hiring the mechanical, plumbing, and electrical contractors to kind of prepare those kinds of plans, to all be one full package at no cost.
I think that part of that engagement would be real helpful with some of our partners like the Chamber, and of course, NIPCA and people like that to help identify some of the businesses, but certainly the Chamber has a big voice and help with identifying and moving along those ideas about the mixed use with commercial types, preserving businesses and individual homeowners' properties. Most of us know that has been a little bit of a challenge. I just think that the clarity of it and defining what it is helps people understand it and maybe accept it a little bit better.
Preserving businesses is preserving land.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Bryant? Sure.
I just wanted to commend the staff for hearing what the community is also asking for as you prioritize what in order as to how you put these requests in. So I would like to thank you for that, and hopefully that it would make a difference when it's time to have that conversation as to whether and how these things will be addressed. So thank you for listening to the community as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
I think it's been helpful to have some of the community engagement. I don't know if anybody in the public has a question or comment on this particular item. I see Mr. White is out there, and I do thank him for his input as well. Councilman Brown?
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Task Force. Sort of holding myself back from doing a backflip over there.
I know, right?
Sat through a lot of these meetings, and finally, I can see this all sort of coming together. So I want to thank the task force for your guidance, and thank Missy and her team for pulling this together. I want to just make a couple of comments to reinforce the efforts here. Number one, this task force is a recommending body that will travel up through the Planning Commission to Town Council. So I just ask that you continue to be very specific with what it is that you support and do not support. I'd love for the point when it becomes an item on our Town Council agenda to look in that staff report and be able to see if the task force is in favor or not as we move forward, because there are several council members that are looking to make sure that these type of items are included in our code rewrite. That's number one. The second one, more specifically to family compound and family subdivision, I just want to make sure that we remember the purpose and intent there. The family compound was more so as you are developing your property. Family subdivision is more so of a paper subdivision for those that are looking to just clear title from heirs property. There's a distinct difference there. So when we have language that talks about minimal requirements, even some of those minimal requirements may be too much if you're simply trying to divide the property so that you can share it down through the generations. So let's just be very careful as to how we proceed with those two particular items. Those are my comments, and again, thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. I also smile a lot when I see what the work that we're doing with our task force, and understanding that our staff does hear us and they take our comments and questions and go back and do some serious homework. And again, the engagement from the community is very, very important. So to hear those voices, I will from time to time ask some of my colleagues to be involved in some of those side meetings, if you will. But that is very helpful to hear the voices of the community.
I got this
Yes, sir.
quick point of clarification. When we say small home developments, we've heard, I guess described previously as tiny homes or accessory dwellings. So I suppose we're talking about the same type of dwellings, or are we talking something different from that?
I don't want to answer for staff, but I think that's more about just having, if you're an individual owner, like not a big developer. I'm not sure if it's a physical home itself.
Yeah, so I guess that's my point of clarification.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yes, that it's just meant to be a single-family home, which is really how it should be titled, as just single-family home development plans.
Small.
Yeah, but I mean, so it can, someone easily may take, because those have been topics of discussion down through the years, really. Is there gonna be something that satisfies, so when you see small home development plans, if you're talking of those types of developments, then this is why I really brought it up.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and we've got some clarification on that. But I think the intent here was to put some ideas in place that we could present to folks who were thinking about developing their property. If they had some ideas that were already presented to them that's accepted, by the town, it makes that process easier, as opposed to just saying, I want to develop my property, I have no idea what I can put here or how to go about doing it. Have something that they can look at already, helps them get them down the road a little bit. So small home may be not exactly the right description for what that particular item is. We're not talking about necessarily tiny homes.
Yes, not tiny homes, no. Good question.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I don't mean to throw a cog in the wheel, but there has been conversation about tiny homes on your today, has there not?
That's a good question. I do not know the history behind that.
I think the question, I think the conversation has been had with the idea that there could be a very appropriate application for some of our neighborhoods.
And I mean, I don't want us to get hung up on that. I mean, because a tiny home can fit into, single family doing a development as well. And I think the intent there was as opposed to a major development, building 50 homes or 100 homes or something like that. I think that the word small is used in that context. It is.
I mean,
I understand.
it's sort of misleading. And if you talk, I think Councilman Brown has simply said, if we're going to go forward and be pretty clear about what we're asking or saying, that could be a major item as it stands. So it's just a matter of point of clarification when we move
Absolutely.
forward.
And the point is well taken.
If the task force would accept it, I think bringing that as part of the update in February would be a good topic
Clear
to
that up.
dive into.
A little bit, yeah.
Sir, can you provide us some insight? I saw you nodding in the affirmative as you were speaking. Do you have any insight you want to share, that you can share?
Mr. Chairman, committee, this is Brian Eber, Development Services Manager. We do have a process in place for tiny home improvements, but it's not clear, easy, quick at all. So because of the building codes, how they're treated differently from maybe a manufactured house or sometimes even a normal stick-built house. For a tiny home, it's pretty specific in our requirements. So unfortunately, it's a pretty gruesome process to go through for tiny homes. What Missy was alluding to, I think in phase 5, is working with you to develop some pre-made concept plans, some layout plans for some housing stock with different features placed a little bit differently on a plot of land, and having you all review those and work with us to kind of create some A, B, C, or D, so that when you come into town hall, here's your application, here's some previously already pre-approved concepts and layouts for, I wouldn't call them tiny, but for some housing stock that would be acceptable in those districts. So, and then, Mr. Chairman, if I could have just one more second here. Earlier it was mentioned, I think it was Mr. Simmons that brought up about the fees associated with these projects. So we learned 3 weeks ago, I looked at Councilman Brown, 3 weeks ago, that the Beaufort County has an affordable housing impact fee discount program, where the impact fees that we collect on behalf of Beaufort County could be reduced by up to 60% at the county level. So we have the actual forms now. We have the process that someone would have to go through and fill those out. We are handing them out, regardless if it's a mobile home, whatever the application may be. It could be for a number of different opportunities, but if there's an impact fee that the county assesses as a result of that, we want to ensure that they have their rights and they get any discount that's afforded to them.
So what would be the criteria to consider it as affordable housing?
It's not really affordable housing. These are just the impact fees that the Beaufort County assesses. So Beaufort County assesses for workforce housing, they assess for non-workforce housing. But if you qualify based upon your income to receive a discount, not to have to pay those impact fees, that's what these forms allow you to do.
Income-based.
It's income-based, yes, sir. So we're actively helping with that.
Pardon my lack of knowledge on the subject, but does the town of Hilton Head also have impact fees?
Yes, sir, we do.
Now, is the town of Hilton Head, would they match a reduced county fee for a particular client?
Currently, at this time, we do not have a reduction for our own impact fees, to my knowledge. We have a process for that.
Okay,
I guess that would be a really good question, right?
I think that would be a good request for us to send forward. And if the county acknowledges a person and qualified for a reduction, then perhaps the town should honor that opportunity as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right?
I did have a question. You said that you just found out about this, what, 2 weeks ago?
3 weeks?
Ago?
Yeah.
So how are you communicating that with any of the residents?
So as part of the application submittal process, the paperwork that we give to them, we ask that they also submit for this. We make them aware of it. And we've had 2 people so far fill them out. And so I think it's going to be, in the long run, a very successful campaign, especially if we were to, in an LMO rewrite, allow us the opportunity to also offer similar discount for our own impact fees.
So clarity, they have to come to you for that.
Because we collect the impact
Yeah.
fees, yes. They start with us. It's going to be on our website. We're going to get it out as many different places
Okay.
So that the knowledge gets spread as often as possible.
That was my question, as to how it's going to be distributed to the community. So people would be aware.
We found it, but it's kind of way down in the weeds on the Beaufort County website to get at it, but we're going to make ours much more viewable, seeable, downloadable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fine.
Okay, other questions? Sorry?
I was wondering, can anybody get a refund for impact fees?
It wasn't delays at the time.
You don't get no money back.
I don't know if I want
It's
to
a
try to
good
answer
question.
that one. I don't think anybody in the room wants to try to answer that one. But anyway,
I don't know if tax.
moving right
rules
along.
So in summary, in February, we'll bring an update on the LMO Phase 5 project and where this application type lands in that review and case study, and we'll have a lot more information on that in February. Then we'll also bring that, we'll do a deeper dive and do some homework on the tiny home, smaller home, as well as an update on, like Brian was saying, what we see for like that A, B, C, D. I hope there's more than 4. I hope there's a whole list of homes and options that people can choose from. So we'll have an update on all those things in February. And with that, that concludes my staff presentation.
Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you, guys.
Good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, next on our agenda, our next item is the fire and rescue presentation. I want to welcome Mr. Ferguson and Mr. Jenkins. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Willie Ferguson. I'm a captain of community outreach and recruitment. I've been with the department for 21 years. My Gullah Geechee roots run deep, descended from some of the first freed families from Mitchellville Project. Very happy and appreciative for all of the work you've done on your task force and with town staff as well to improve the lives of the Gullah Geechee community here on Hilton Head.
Good afternoon. For the record, Lee Jenkins. I second everything he said, but in addition to that, I just want to say we're so very happy to be here before you today. Also, like to see all your smiling faces. Many of you we know, so thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak. We also want to thank our town council as well as our town manager for their support of fire rescue as well as our fire rescue leadership. So without further ado, we'll get started. And we're here today to present community outreach and recruitment. And so community outreach to us is recruitment. They one and the same. Community outreach through the enhancements of partnerships lead to the development of programs, which leads to recruitment. And so that's what we're here to do. So what's very important to us is our strategic plan, which, as I mentioned earlier, Town Council, we want to thank them for approving it. But as you'll see, our fire arrest strategic plan is from 2024 to 2026. And 1/3 of our strategic plan, we came up with 3 strategic initiatives, and 1/3 of that was community outreach. That gives you a little bit of insight as to how important this is to our department and how important it is to us serving our citizens in our community. So our goal is to maximize community outreach through the enhancements of programs and partnerships. As I said earlier, community outreach equals recruitment.
So one of our first partnerships was with Hilton Head Island Elementary School for Creative Arts. We had a couple of members of the staff approach Captain Jenkins and myself when we first got these new positions within community outreach. And they asked us a big question: what can you guys do and the fire department to help us with literacy problems within our school? We knew it was going to be a big undertaking, so we sat down with them and some of the administrators, and we came up with the Red Hot Readers program. And this program is for every Friday during this session, which actually ends next Friday. We go to the school, sit down on Fridays and read books with the students and make lifelong connections. And another part of our partnerships that we are very proud of is that the Creative Arts invited us to their Hispanic Heritage Month pep rally. And so this was a kickoff for the culmination of Hispanic Heritage Month, which goes from September 15th through October 15th. So we're happy to be invited to that.
All right, so just continuing the conversation about partnerships. So as Captain Ferguson said, being in the schools is very important to us. Once again, we're talking a lot about recruitment. So this is another one of our partnerships with Hilton Head Island Middle School. And in this particular picture, you'll see 2 young men. And what's important about that is these are 2 young men from the community. But what they're doing is they're donning PPE. What that means is that's a very important skill in the world of firefighters. And so for these 2 young men to come on the stage in front of about 14 of their peers to actually race and compete to see who could put this on the fastest was amazing. So this is just some of the things that we are doing in the schools. Another one of our partnership, which we're very proud of this one, is Family Night at the Fire Station. And so, as I said earlier, we received so much support from our community. This is something that we did in conjunction with the Island Rec Center, and it's the inaugural event. It's December 16th, so we'd like to see all of you there. But this event is so that we can give back. I'm sure all of you are familiar with our annual pancake breakfast. This is in addition to that. So
another partnership is with the Boys and Girls Club of Hilton Head. And similar to Creative Arts, they came and said, what can you guys in the fire department do to help some of our teenage students with leadership and professional development? So we came up with a program called LEADS, Leadership, Equality, Attitude, Direction, and Safety, just to provide them some outlook and skills with community outreach. So Neighborhood Outreach Connection is another partnership, and this particular picture is with a student that was one of the youngest and smallest, and we had, for one of their Friday enrichment days, we set up a obstacle course to go through with the students, and she was one of the fastest, actually. And another student here, you can see Captain Jenkins backing her up on the hose line, and we just were proud to give them some of that feel of what it is to be a firefighter here on Hilton Head and what it is to serve for the community. And in their third location here at Island Lutheran, Captain Olander is one of our long-serving members. He's actually been there longer than me and the fire chief, I believe. But he helped us with presenting some of that same PPE information to the students, giving them a real look at what it takes to be a firefighter and making it accessible to everyone.
all right, so another one of our partners is Bluffton Self-Help. And so what we did is we started conducting fire rescue facility tours. And so this is the way that we get community engagement, exposure, and awareness. And anyone can do these tours, but in this particular picture, what I want to point out is that everyone is smiling. And the reason they're smiling is because they got to see what we do inside and out, but from a vantage point that not many see. And so we want to welcome all of you to participate in these fire rescue facility tours. Another one, of course, is Heritage Academy. And so as Captain Ferguson said earlier about some of the other school ventures that we have done, we kind of met and came up with a professional leadership series. And what we wanted to do was just provide them with what professionalism looks like. And if you can see in the picture, our fire rescue core values: compassion, integrity, professionalism, and diversity. So after we introduced them to those core values and what they mean to us, these young men actually broke up in groups and they provided 2 to 3 minute presentations as to what those words mean to them. This picture right here is probably my most favorite, not because we in it, but because what you will see in this picture, and there was much mention of Mr. Boxley and the CDC, and you'll see that Captain Ferguson and I both come from historic Gullah neighborhoods. That's very important to us. That's what kind of shaped us, molded us, and that's part of the reason we're here today, because we believe in giving back to the community that gave so much to us.
Yeah, so along those same lines, we met with Mr. Boxley his first week, and I know he was busy, but he took the time to meet with us, because when we read his bio, we realized really fast that a lot of the things that we were trying to do, he had already done in a previous employ. And I know he was trying to bring some of those things to the town and create, partnerships and improve the lives of Gullah Geechee here on Hilton Head. So another partnership is with the Office of Cultural Affairs. For the Lantern Parade, we actually showed up at one of their enrichment events as well and provided them materials to make lanterns for the town event.
All right, so once again, you see smiling faces, and this particular slide is about the programs that we have implemented. And so we mentioned the Red Hot Readers, we talked about cultural celebrations, we also talked about the Heritage Academy Professional Leadership Series. But what I want to make mention of in this particular slide here is that none of what we do is possible without the participation and the support of our line personnel members. And so this is a wonderful slide for us, because all of these people are dedicating their time and commitment to community outreach. So the Ride Along program, this is something that Captain Ferguson and I are very proud of. This program, we assumed these roles in July 17th of 2023. And one of the first things we did is we wanted to tackle how many ways can we gain exposure, awareness, and have community engagement and interaction. So the Ride Along program is offered to students, healthcare professionals, and citizens. We felt that was all encompassing of anyone who would want to do it. Once again, we extend that invite to all of you.
Want to go?
Oh, you do? Okay, perfect.
Sign you up.
Just to add to that, since November 7th, we've had 5 official ride-alongs, and we've had about 11 ride-along orientation meetings. Is basically we just meet with people, figure out what they want to see, try to put them in the best place that we could put them in, and maybe witness a call or get the full extent of what we do here on Hilton Head Fire Rescue. And this was another gentleman from the community. I believe Mr. Campbell knows him. He was referred to us, and he had a blast. I had a wonderful time, and very appreciative of his time. And I know he had lots of good things to say about the crew that gave him that ride along.
So we've told you a lot, and what's very important to us is to not only tell you, but to show you. And so this slide in particular is about, once again, community outreach is recruitment. And so these are many of the attended events that we've attended since July 17th. And what you see once again, and it's a theme, is smiling faces in all of these pictures. You also see Mayor Alan Perry, who was also at this event. But this was the Back to School Fun Day, and in addition to that, we've also attended the Hilton Head School for the Creative Arts meet and greet, of course, the Town 36040 Community Picnic, Latinos Unidos Food Festival, health fairs. But what's really important to us is we also attended the Hilton Head High School Reality Day. And so once again, as we talk about recruitment, we need to be in very unique and different places that we can reach different demographics and targeted audiences. One of those other places is the Skills Bridge Fair, which Skills Bridge is an opportunity for servicemen and women who are about to separate from the military. And so they have a chance to see what other career fields are like.
So to speak to that a little more, how do we discover local talent? How do we entice them with the opportunities to join fire rescue for careers? So we've kind of identified a few different places where we can look, and definitely in the schools. In the high schools, one of the big CTE, career technical education programs, is they put on career assessments, and all the students that are interested in fire emergency services, we can go in and speak to them and kind of develop a plan for them to get to see what we're all about. Showing them that we believe in them and creating that trust also goes a long way for finding talent in the high schools. College students, the same thing. You can go off to school, guess what's still available to you? Fire rescue as a career. One of those things too is for coaching and creating pathways, we can probably, or try to get them certified with Fire 1, Fire 2, or EMT to make it easy to transition into a role here at Fire Rescue. And also local professionals, people that already have careers and jobs in other fields. We want to interact with them, involve them with some of our programs like ride-alongs and station tours, and then be a mentor for them that they can also come and join.
So you probably heard Captain Ferguson just mention CTE. What that stands for is Career and Technical Education Programs. And at this moment, I want to thank those at the Beaufort County School District because they invited us to their CTE Expo. And it was an amazing experience. So we did a little research. We've been aware of what goes on in this program, but what's very important to us is they offer Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, and emergency medical services through the high schools. And so as we talk about recruiting, that's an area that we can capitalize as an opportunity for those who are familiar with a SWOT analysis. And so when we talk about this opportunity, the beauty of it is that it exists. What we need to work on is bringing it to Hilton Head High School because it's not there. And so this is an area that you all can help us when we talk about land and cultural preservation, being able to get these skills so that they can enter a career with us easily.
So some of the future ideas, and of course we could use your help for these as well, is through some of our partnerships that we've already made, we've identified different groups that may not have been associated or understanding or aware of what the careers in fire rescue look like. And that would be the girls camp because we always practice inclusivity and diversity. A firefighter cadet camp, either through the schools or some other organization, that they could just be the future firefighters of Hilton Head Fire Rescue. An apprenticeship program might help with some of the local talent or local people that are already involved in other jobs or careers that we could get them with us part-time, introduce them to us, and pay them for some of their services and time. And then applicant test prep as well. When we do our annual firefighter testing, our written testing and our physical testing, we should make those tests available, and we can make those tests available so there's no surprises when the tests come, and we can put out the best product.
All right, so this is where the rubber meets the road. And so some of the research that we did about you as a group, a task force, is that we understand that you're under the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission, which is very important, as Councilman Brown mentioned earlier. But when we talk about assisting in preserving the Gullah Geechee culture, some of the things that stand out to us the most is, of course, economic sustainability to improve quality of life. You know, we as the fire department, I think in general, we improve quality of life because, you know, when you call 911 on Hilton Head Island, you're going to get the best. And of course, educating our community. And so how can we work together? So our collaborative efforts is, as we have already offered you opportunities by exposing members of the Gullah Geechee community to a career with fire rescue. Of course, I don't know if any of you want a career, but Chairman Stevens has already said he want to come and do the fire rescue facility tours or the fire rescue ride-along program.
Will I get paid for that?
Sir?
Will I get paid for that?
You'll get a lot of gratification just from being a part of it. Yes, sir. So the reality is that we have to do more, and this is part of doing more, giving you a behind-the-scenes look at how we serve our community, but why we serve with those core values: compassion, integrity, professionalism, and diversity. So, of course, we know preservation of land and culture is very important. In order to do that, it involves having money. So providing financial stability through employment. And when you look at these numbers, of course, they're important and they mean a lot. But what's just as important to us is, as Captain Ferguson said, when we discovering that local talent, is finding those individuals who want to be here, those who have an investment, those who will one day replace us because we care a whole bunch about this place. And so for someone to respond to our loved ones the way we have responded to many other people's loved ones, that's what we're looking for. Also, those efforts, we talk about improved quality of life again. That's very important. But in order to do that, we all have to be educated. Some of the ways that we can educate, of course, is CPR and life-saving procedures.
So that's the end of our presentation, and of course, we'll leave the floor open for questions. We just have one more thing that Nick Day is going to help us with, and then answer some of your questions.
Well, let me just say while she's doing that, I'm just very proud of the work that you're doing. And I know I have a few questions, and some comments as well, that probably my colleagues do too. But I want to back up, first of all, and apologize for not addressing you properly as Captain Ferguson and Captain Jenkins. So I say that with a lot of pride. As you say, I know a little bit about your background and where you come from. So really proud of your accomplishments and all that you're doing. Certainly bringing some life and vibrancy to this community outreach program. My first question is how long has the Fire and Rescue had a community outreach program?
Good question. Formalized program, July 17th is when we started the formal division within Fire Rescue. Now, myself and Captain Jenkins have been on the line for years, so we had always been doing passive outreach just through us and trying to recruit, but the division created that department within the last 4 months.
And as far as, and I know that my colleagues, Ms. Wright and Ms. Green here, are certainly happy to hear about the inclusive part of, I don't forget what the title was, but including the young ladies and young girls. So that's very inclusive and showing some diversity as well. Do we know what the demographic is of the makeup of the fire department at this time as far as diversity goes?
We could give you an idea, but we don't want to be incorrect. So I would rather provide an update at a later time if that's possible.
Okay. And that's okay. I don't want to mean to put you on the spot. But the point is, of course, is that we know that there's some minority inclusion now that may not have been there in the past as far as history goes. And that certainly is not to blame anyone, but I'm just, again, so proud that we have you guys in place now and that you might be able to be shining examples and attract others from not just our culture, but every culture, because I think that you're finding examples of leadership and certainly coming from, I'm probably a little older than you are. So also encouraging folks that this is a great career. It's a great way to live on Hilton Head. And I think through your work, you might inspire them to not only become a part of the fire and rescue, but be leaders in our community. So I commend you for your efforts there.
Yes, sir.
And with that, I want to open it up on the floor for some of my colleagues if they have questions or comments. Mr. Simmons?
Yeah, I personally would like to just thank Captain Jenkins and Captain Ferguson. I think if not both of those guys have probably come to 584 Spanish Wells Road at some point, you know, during the time of my parents. And I can tell you, like they said, to give the best of service. I can tell you each time that they showed up at 584, it wasn't nothing but pure professionalism. And I even think, you know, for these guys coming into the neighborhood, it's that personal touch that you can just feel coming from these two gentlemen. I mean, I think they take what they do extremely serious. I think I can tell you that I personally am extremely proud of both of you guys for your accomplishments and the work that I know you do. So, guys, just, you know, keep up the good work. These programs, I'm sure that anything that I can do personally, anything this task force can do, I think we'll be behind you 100%. I think I can easily say that, and just once again thank you guys for the good work that you have done, and hopefully you'll continue to trust that you will continue to do. So hats off to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Y'all are doing an excellent job. I didn't know there was so much detail into this, but please tell me, what are y'all doing to improve the hiring process?
Good question. So that was one of our first priorities, was the ride-along program and the hiring process when we first got transitioned into these new roles. So one of the biggest things is we took a look at what was happening with our written test over the past 5 years, and the results weren't that good. It was just the pass rates weren't good. The people showing up to take the tests just didn't seem like they were prepared. So we looked into a third party to kind of supplement that and take over the written testing, and that's called NTN, National Testing Network. So we think, and all the information and the data and the stats that they presented to us, we think the whole process will improve from the written test standpoint by having this third party kind of proctor and manage that whole written test process. And that's just one thing. I'll let Captain Jenkins speak to the rest of it.
In addition to that, I think being a resource for those who are seeking employment with us is something that we can do a better job of, and as we mentioned, as far as the test prep. And so once we get these young people into the fold, and that's why, as I say, community outreach is the recruitment, is because once we build that trust and learn these individuals, we can begin to then provide real help to them. And so as we provide that real help to them, that's going to by default improve the hiring process in addition to the national testing network. So we're looking forward to what's upon us and what's to come.
Mr. Hens?
Thanks again for your presentation. Great. I like the red hot thing you got going. Beautiful. What is it that, since we got such a great fire rescue, and I think it would be great to take your show to the community at large. What things, how could you support what you would want us as citizens to know when it comes to fire and rescue? In other words, we should probably all be up to speed on CPR. So how could you help us get there? Defibrillators, I meof they're everywhere, but who knows how to use them? Is there a way that you can do an outreach program for all of the citizens to learn what those are all about? And there's probably other things that that we should, as a community, as citizens, we should be up to speed on. Is there anywhere you could bring us there?
So that's a lot to unpack, but the reality is we have a community risk reduction department that is awesome. Within that department is a fire and life safety educator, and so that person is primarily responsible for coordinating CPR and just making sure that is happening. Now, to answer your question directly, I think doing what we are here doing today by creating that exposure and awareness and letting people know that, the days of them always coming to us is over. We don't mind going to people. We're here in front of you today. And so the more places that we can go, as I said, we have a diverse portfolio as far as our outreach events. We want to go everywhere. We provide our contact information. It's very easy to get a hold of Captain Ferguson and myself, but the reality is we get a great deal of support from our fire rescue leadership team. And so on a wide scale, I think as we expand our goal, which is to create those partnerships and develop those programs, it's going to happen.
Tell us a little bit about the CTE program and how can we get this in our high school?
Very good. So the Career and Technical Education Program, as I said, that's the Beaufort County School District. It's wonderful. We are actually about to schedule a meeting with the CTE director. And so we have met her multiple times. We kind of see eye to eye on everything in which we want to do. One of the best things that happened is the community supported the bond referendum. And so now we know that Hilton High School, part of that is to be rebuilt. As that is happening, we will be in discussions with Beaufort County School District, up into the superintendent, of course, so that we can ensure that there's a great understanding of the need. And as we get Fire 1 and Fire 2 and EMS on Hilton Head Island in the school system, as they say in sports, that's going to change the ball game.
Next question is this. What about new hires at the town? Do you think it's a good idea for them to go on ride-alongs with y'all?
Absolutely. Mr. Stevens, we've already got his name on the ledger to sign up. So absolutely, we think that's a good idea for all town members, representatives, to do some of these ride-alongs with us, because to answer your question a little further, Mr. Hens, that will kind of engage and ask and kind of get those questions started about what does my fire department on the island actually do? And what better way than to actually show up at a fire station, possibly run calls. And part of our ride-along program that we created was a station aid. So when you show up and you do a ride along or a tour or whatever, the personnel at the station can all give the same message, that we don't miss anything. And some people, come to the stations and it might be late or early or whatever. We want to have that consistency, so when they're talking about what we do and the reasons we do the things, it can be the same message to you or Mr. Stevens when he does a ride along. And don't think, I haven't forgotten. We got you.
I'm gonna take you up on that. We usually get that opportunity when during the holidays, right, where we go through some of the neighborhoods and they bring Santa Claus.
That's perfect. I'm happy you said that, because Santa and Sirens actually starts today.
Mm-hmm.
And so be on the lookout for your neighborhood to see Santa. And once again, I want to say also December 16th, family night at the fire station. So please come. But these are the types of things that we're doing because it's all about that engagement. The more we get in front of people like yourselves, and it's just going to improve. And so the one thing about, of course, Hilton Head as the #1 island is it's okay to, it's not easy to become #1, but it's harder to stay #1. And so that's the things that we're doing right now, is we're trying to continue to expand so that we can build our presence in the community.
Yep. Sure, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here in a minute.
Yeah.
One more question?
Comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Three more.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Congratulations, both captains. I'm very proud of you as a parent, and extremely proud in the community for the work that you're giving back. And I'm sure that your ancestors will be very proud of you. I'm sure, Mr. Ferguson, you are very comfortable in this room, and many times you've been here with family members. So,
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to invite you to be a part of any program in Mitchellville that we have. I am going to extend that and have a conversation offline when we get finished with this presentation. But there are quite a few things that I'm sure that we can be more engaging in as well. And just want you to know that we are very receptive to whatever you want to bring into the community down there, so that we can definitely support you wherever we need to. And again, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. That's
You're
right.
welcome.
I just want to ask, with regards to your apprenticeship program, is there a minimum age for those candidates you would consider for an apprenticeship?
So that's one of the future ideas. We've been working a little bit on that.
Okay.
Initially, it was kind of geared towards students, but we thought that was not inclusive. Because remember, we were trying to involve some of the local talent that may already have careers. So the short answer is no. 17, 18 probably would be the minimum, but no maximum age. Anybody that might be interested in doing either a summer job or a 6-month internship / apprenticeship, we're still working on that.
Okay.
But we want to be all inclusive, so no age, no real age issues.
And speaking of Santa and Sirens, can I give you a round of applause for how awesome that Mid-Island station looks? It's just phenomenal.
We can't take all the credit for Station 3. I was Station 3 captain before I came. The current Station 3 captain and a lot of the 1% and HHFA, they did a lot of work on that station. And we even had a station, or a headquarters administration day where we would go and help string up some of the lights and decorate, so, yeah.
So just a quick comment on that. Thank you. So the beauty of that is this is what we call evolution. And so many years ago, we had a company there, what we call a company, but they occupied that station, and pretty much 3 individuals kind of jump-started that with the Christmas lights. And from there, we have evolved from something that they wanted to do to now something that we do as a whole for the community and with the community. So that's the beauty of evolution, and as I said, getting better. If you're not getting better, what are you doing? So if you don't mind, before we wrap up, we put this on the screen here, but we haven't talked about it. And so,
But just before you leave that subject, of course, that's right there at the First Presbyterian Church, right, where we do those lights, and I'm there every Sunday, where I do as a worship leader. And thank you for doing what you do with the station. But now I see they've also expanded over to the church in the chapel there and put some lights up and decoration there. So it's growing, as you say. It's getting better all the time.
wonderful. Thank you. So just want to say that a lot of what we discuss, you can quantify some of it. We can give you the statistics, the data, but how do you qualify a lot of this stuff? And so this is what we call qualifiable data. This is, I'll just read it. So this is the young lady that was in the picture. She completed the ride-along. She actually was November 7th, the first ride-along that we did. And dear firefighters, I had so much fun and learned so much on my ride-along. It was an amazing experience. Now I think I do want to do it when I'm older. Thank you so much, Abby Onan. And so this is part of what we get, and this is what inspires us and continues to motivate Captain Ferguson and me. And so this is it, just getting better.
Y'all stay in contact with her?
Yes, her sister is now scheduled to do a ride-along.
Okay.
Very good.
All right.
Well, and hopefully before you get away, you will get a picture with the task force if you guys have a minute to hang around afterwards. Because I'm sure that we consider ourselves as a partner too, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So maybe we'll make the next presentation when you do your slides again next.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you.
All right,
Thank you so much. Okay, I do have another item on the agenda, and I don't know if we've covered this already, but this land preservation update.
Luana's not here today.
So that was Luana's piece. That is fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, with that, we find ourselves at the end of our agenda. Again, to our two new. Yes, sir. Turn your mic on for us, so we can make sure we're here.
I would just like to let at least let the task force know that for community spread, the redistricting maps for PSD 1, the proposed drafts are now being presented at the PSD office for community input.
Okay.
Those maps will be laid out for the next 7 to 8 weeks because the redistricting took place as a result of the latest census. So maps being suggested for community input to be voted on probably in the first 2 months of 2024 for a new district map outline for PSD 1.
Okay.
All right?
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. If there's nothing else, again, I want to welcome our two new town employees and part of the staff. I don't know if you want to introduce yourselves. We don't want to put you on the spot, but we look forward to working with you. And thank you for being here. And to the rest of our public and to Councilman Chet, always appreciate your attendance and your input in your council. Mr. Foxley, thank you for staying for the whole meeting. That's impressive. If there's nothing further, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We find ourselves adjourned. Thank you. Have a great day.